Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Parturition, which is episode 7 of season 2 of Star Trek Voyager. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Star Trek Voyager, one episode at a time. In this particular video, I cover the second season episode, Parturition. So Parturition is the episode in which Neelix gets super jealous of Tom Paris because he's flirting with Kes, and so he gets in a food fight with him and beats him up, but then they get called to Janeway's office, and the hilarity ensues because they both got food all over them. And then Janeway orders them to go on a mission together to a planet where they hate each other, but then they end up being stuck on this planet that makes them all itchy, so they have to hide in a cave. But when they're in the cave, they find there's a baby there, and that the baby's dying because they sealed off at the cave, and also the things that make them itchy is what the baby needs to eat in order to survive, so they have to work together in order to save the baby, and by doing so they bond. And then the mother comes and takes the alien baby away, and then Neelix and Tom Paris, all friends, and Neelix hugs both Paris and Kes and takes them out to dinner because they're all good now. So the first thing I'm gonna say is that I already recorded my review for this episode, but it turns out my microphone wasn't hooked up. And it also turns out even if it was hooked up, the volume was turned all the way down, so you could barely hear me. So I ended up recording when I just also did my announcement video for my MCU thing, and I had to do that 3 times because the first time the microphone wasn't hooked up, and the second time the volume was all the way down, and the third time finally got it. And this time I checked several times, make sure it was good. So anyway, so I might not say as much about the episode because it's always difficult to try to recreate what I already did, which is why I try to avoid doing so. But anywho, I don't have a whole hell of a lot to say about this episode anyway. Getting into my personal experience, as I mentioned before, the episode Twisted was the last Voyager episode that I taped off of the TV when it first came out on VHS. So I had a VHS collection of Star Trek episodes, but for Voyager it ends here. So this is an episode that I haven't seen as much. In fact, I think the second time I saw it wasn't until 1999. And I told this story before. When I first went to New Zealand, I didn't have a job or much money, so I just sat at home the whole time. So I would rent these had VHS of Voyager that had 2 episodes each. That was at the local Blockbuster. And so there's a couple episodes. I'm pretty sure this is one of the episodes I watched then, and then I didn't see it again until 2008 or something when I got eventually got the DVDs. So so I'm less familiar with this episode. I remembered before I saw it the second time, I remembered it as that dumb episode where Neelix got super jealous of Tom Paris, which is the storyline I did not care for. I did not care for the whole storyline with Tom Paris hitting on Kes. I think that should have forego that. Because here's the thing, Neelix is actually justified for being jealous of Tom because he is absolutely being inappropriate with Kes and hitting her, especially in the last episode when he bought her that locket, really fancy, romantic looking locket. It's that's the kind of gift a boyfriend gives his girlfriend. That's not cool to give another man's girlfriend that gift. I would say that's even worse. To my friends in Pulp Fiction, that's even worse than giving another man's girlfriend a foot massage. But that is just my humble opinion. But anyway, so I remember this episode as being crap because I hated the whole thing with Neelix being jealous. But when I rewatched it for the first time, 4 years later, I was like, it's actually okay. It's not that bad. Because as much as I really don't like the whole Neelix and Tom Paris fighting, I did like them working together to save the little baby alien. And I'm sorry, call me a sucker, but I thought the baby alien was cute. I did. And I thought the little puppet, and I was like, and I actually bought, I think their reconciling was well written. I actually bought it, and it was nice when Tom Paris had the line of, yes, I am attracted to Kes, but I would never do anything and move on her because I respect you, Neelix, and that she really loves you. I'm not quite sure I believe him, but it was a nice line. Like I bought them working together to save the little baby puppet, and how Neelix is like really risking, his own life to try to save this baby because they're the ones responsible for putting it in danger in the first place. And, and then that alien ship was attacking Voyager. It's kind of like the forehead aliens attacking Voyager. I think it's still okay because it doesn't happen every single episode at this stage like it will in seasons 5, 6, and 7, especially 6 and 7. That's when the trope gets on my nerves. But here it's like, and to be fair, it's not just forehead alien. It's actually huge alien makeup. So I think it's more excusable, but it's still, still has that feel to it. But you find out that they're just protecting their young, which, I liked. I thought that was interesting, and I liked how they worked together to save the baby. But that being said, like, I still have a lot of issues. First of all, I will say that the episode begins with Tom Paris doing a test simulation on the runabout. I think it's a runabout. Maybe it's a shuttlecraft. But doing it with Kes on the holodeck, and it's Jim Hadar ships that are firing at them. That is a very rare Dominion reference. Like, there's a couple times later in Voyager where they'll reference Dominion because they kind of have to, because it made it's such an important thing of what's going on in the Alpha Quadrant at the time. But this is outside of that, though. This is one of the rare cases that we actually see, like, the Jim Hadar on another show that's not Deep Space Nine. So that's cool, but they didn't call them out for being Jim Hadar. But still, I was like, whoa, I was surprised when I saw that. I was like, the Jim Hadar on Voyager? What's going on? But, Chakotay were called a species from the Gamma Quadrant. They're not a species from the Gamma Quadrant. There are several species that have an alliance or a empire. But anyway, sorry, that's neither here nor there. I'll get to that when I get to season 4. But anyway, so or no, was that season? It was season 4. But anyway, so I have issues with this episode. Okay, so before I get to my issues, let me heap some more praise on it. This stuff I did like. I liked the scene with Harry playing the clarinet, and this actually is the first time we see him do that. I didn't realize that. Apparently, and I didn't notice this, but I found this out by watching other YouTube videos, you could see his clarinet in the episode Non Sequitur at his house, but this is the first time he actually plays it. And I think maybe they actually filmed this episode first, judging by what the actors were saying. So maybe they actually filmed this and then they added the clarinet in the other episode. But I don't know. This was not one of the ones filmed in season 1. We're done with them. Twisted was the last one of the 4. It was 37's, Projections, Elogium, and Twisted. So we're done with these. Are all filmed in season 2. But anyway, that was a cool little scene. How Paris kept interrupting Harry when he tried to play. He kept telling him to play and then would interrupt him. Like, it's a nice little scene. Although he confessed that he's in love with Cass, which I wish they wouldn't do. But if they had to do it, like, this was a good way to do it. And plus, it's obvious he was because of how he's flirting with her heart out. But anyway, so that was a good scene. I also really liked the scene where Harry Kim was comforting Cass when Paris and Neelix were lost. And he was like, if there's anyone to get him out of it, it's Paris. And she's like, well, if anyone has good survival skills, it's Neelix. And so I don't know if I've really seen if Harry Kim interact with Kes much before this, but it was nice. I still thought it was that he was there for emotional support. And I was like, oh, now Harry Kim's going to move on. No, he wouldn't do that. He's just being a good friend. But anyway. And also I thought it was kind of funny. I got to admit, the scene where Harry Kim and Paris go to eat in the, the cafeteria or whatever they call it. And Paris really wants to avoid, Kes because he has such strong feelings, and he's like, oh, talking to Neelix, says, oh, that's fine, we have a lot of work to do, there's so much work. And then Harry Kim gets called away immediately, and he's trying to avoid Kes, but that's when Neelix freaks out. It's hey, you don't think I don't see what's going on here? But yeah, and then they get that stupid food fight. So, but that first part was kind of funny. Okay, so now let me get back to what I don't like about this episode, and that's so the whole food fight scene is dumb. I hate jealous Neelix a lot. I just not interested in this stupid storyline. But then this next scene is very, very contrived, and it really bothers me. So Janeway calls them both to her ready room to send them on a mission, and Paris is like, oh, you mean now? And Janeway's like, yes, now. They could have just went to the rooms on the way and gotten changed. What's she gonna do? Be like, oh, I said now. No, she's gonna be like, oh, what took you so long? And they could just say, oh, sorry, my clothes were messed up, I had to get it changed before I came here. They could have done that. Or he could have just been like, oh, I'm sorry, Captain, I just really messed up my uniform. Just give me 5 minutes, I'll be right there. And I'm sure she'd be like, okay, fine, whatever, Lieutenant, just, make haste, get here as soon as you can. I'm sure that would be the case. But if they did it that way, then they couldn't have that funny scene where Neelix and Paris have to stand in front of Janeway with food all over their clothes. Ha, 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 ha. It's contrived, and it's stupid. And then the contrivedness does not end there, my friends. It continues because Janeway is like, am I sensing a problem between the two of you? And Neelix finally fesses up and is like, well, frankly, Captain, yes. And she's like, solve it. That's bad captaining. That is bad captaining. It's just similar. It reminds me to the episode The Emissary. The Emissary, not Emissary. So I'm talking about the one with Kalar and TNG, not the DS9 pilot. But The Emissary, Worf asked not to work with Kalar. And Picard's like, are there any professional reasons why you can't work with her? And he says, no. It's like, any personal ones? And he's like, yes. And then Picard just glares at him, and he's like, I withdraw my request, sir. And Picard goes, good. No! I mentioned this in my review of that episode. That's bad captaining, and it actually plays out because when the two are working together, they're not getting any work done because they're just bitching at each other the whole time, back and forth. And so Picard was stupid to just be like, I don't care about your personal problems, you're going to work with her just because this episode needs to have you two arguing with each other. It actually hinders the mission. Picard should have been like, okay, if it makes you uncomfortable, I will assign someone else like Commander Data, who will be more conducive to a professional thing. That's what a good captain would do. But they did it for plot convenience so they could have them constantly arguing with each other. But they got no work done, and they were constantly just yelling at each other and refused to work together. It's like, so it panned out that Picard was wrong. But anyway, so it's the same deal here. That, Janeway is like, oh, but Paris is the best pilot, and Neelix is the best at survival skills in the Delta Quadrant, so you two have to go. Really? I mean, are you trying to tell me that all your other pilots suck? Like, there's that other dude that Paris mentioned, I think is Lieutenant Baytar, or whatever the hell his name is. Mr. Never See on Screen. Mr. Off Screen. And Janeway's like, no, it has to be you. Like, seriously? Like, no one? Like, so all your other pilots suck? I think you need to train better pilots, Janeway. Why do you only have good pilot? And he wasn't even assigned to your ship. He was in prison, and you broke him out of prison, and he's the only one who could fly this mission? Then what? There's something wrong then. Like, why don't you train better pilots? But, and as far as, like, Neelix being the only one who could do... What about Chakotay? He has great survival skills. Now, granted, we do find that out later in the basics part 2, but still, in his character, like, to have, and I think we're shown a little bit on initiations that he has this. So, yeah, why not send Chakotay? Or surely there's other people who trained in survival tactics. If not, like, again, what the hell are they teaching you at the academy? Like, seriously, like, I can't remember which episode it is, but there was one, and who said it, but there was one line where they talk about, maybe it was Paris, but he mentioned, we had to drop us, when I went to the academy, it dropped us in the middle of Australia, and we had to do survival training. Like, so every Starfleet officer should be trained to do this, and surely they could find someone who's very good. As I said, I think Chakotay would probably be very good. So this is bullshit, and Janeway should have realized that they would just hinder the mission by forcing these two people who are fighting and have a personal issue together, and would be more conducive to a better, more safe mission if she got someone else. So she should have either taken Neelix off, or taken Tom Paris off, or even taken both of them off. I mean, Chakotay, I'm sure, is a decent pilot. Like, he could go down with a random ensign. Like, it's just plot convenience. It's contrivance. It's so the episode could happen, so that they could have Paris and Neelix on a planet, blah, 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 and then eventually make friends. But it actually doesn't make sense. It shows Janeway as a bad captain for doing this. And speaking of Janeway being a bad captain, it's not my only complaint about this episode. There's also the way that she treats the Doctor. Now, I had actually forgotten, like, I'm noticing this more in this rewatch, just how much Janeway treats the Doctor like shit in the earlier seasons. Basically the whole crew, but Janeway in particular. Like, there's some episodes where she's good with him, like Eye of the Needle, where she's like, oh, what can I do for you? But that's, like, Cass had to talk her into it, and at first she didn't want to. Like, she did bullshit, like, when she was talking to the Doctor on her little laptop in the ready room. She just walked out. She didn't even turn it off. She didn't even say, oh, thank you, Doctor, or whatever. She just walked out in the middle of the conversation, and he's like, hello? What the fuck? And then the time where he said some smart ass comment, and so she muted him, and it was in the middle of an important meeting where medical information was very important. He had to wave his hands to get her to unmute him, and what the actual, just because he made a smart ass comment, plenty of people can make smart ass comments. So Tom Paris makes smart ass comments all the time. I don't see her muting him, but anyway, but this is worse. So in this episode, they're talking about going down to this planet, planet Hell is what they call it, because there's all this, health hazard that's hazardous to the skin, and they don't even fucking consult the Doctor. He's your chief medical officer, and you know this is a potential health issue. Why the hell do you not consult him? So he was actually took it upon himself to eavesdrop, probably because Janeway doesn't include him in important meetings like she fucking should. And so he eavesdrops, and she's like, well, what are you doing eavesdropping on me? That's her takeaway. Not, oh my God, because the Doctor said, oh, it's actually very important. I need to give you this ointment or whatever, or to help your skin, or else it could be very fatal. And her reaction to that sounded like, oh God, thank you, Doctor. I should have included you, and this is very important information. Thanks for your help. No. her reaction is, oh, so what's the deal with you fucking eavesdropping on me, huh? Like, what gives you the right? And he's like, well, I only do it for professional reasons. I'm a doctor. And she's like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to have to look in to this eavesdropping thing and put some security protocols to stop you from doing that. Really, fucking Janeway? Really? That's your fucking takeaway? Not that you were being a shit captain by not consulting your chief medical officer, and he fucking proved that by pointing out there was a huge health issue that would have really affected the mission, possibly put your crew in danger just because you were too fucking stupid and selfish to fucking consult the doctor, and your takeaway is, I'm gonna block your communication so you can't save us again? What the fuck kind of bad captaining is this? This is terrible. This whole episode makes Janeway out to be a terrible captain. But anyway, I think that about covers it. This episode. So I would now like to thank those on Patreon who support me. Is very much appreciated. It does help me continue with the channel. I'd like to give a big special thanks to Brandon Neil House and Jordan Johnson. Thank you both so very, very much for your strong support. I'd also like to give a shout out to Tyler Cease, Benjamin Mead, Antarius, Greg Marley, Francisco, Chuck Hooks, Anthony D. Benedictus, Ricky, Matty Jester, Alessandro Miguelucio, Norman Buchwald, Stephen Kennedy, Brenton Berg, and Allison Fordyce. Thank you all so very, very much for your support. So, we do have a few Patreon comments on this episode. First comment is from Kyrie091, who says, Parturition, more like fart on this one. Well, great, this sucks. This absolute plate of fucks leave me in a state of flux. I feel like a skate with no trucks or a gate of bucks. Mark, I don't remember this episode at all. You've got to tell me if I think it's booty crap or not. You love this episode, Kyrie091. You love it because Neelix attacks Paris and they get food all over each other. And the reason why Neelix can attack Paris is because he's not in the Starfleet. I appreciate all of the state of flux puns. That was my favorite. You know, I like that better than booty crap. Anyway, next, great, this sucks. That's always my favorite. Anyway, next comment is from Ricky, who says, so I have to admit that I am not one of those people that says this is one of the worst episodes of the show. Now, hear me out. I think this episode is okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely hate it. The Neelix and Tom Paris fighting and bitching in the first half of the episode, but the second half, when they found the baby alien, was actually a cute storyline, and I did indeed like that Tom Paris and Neelix finally got along and that they made up, and together they helped the baby alien, and thankfully I believe they don't do this Tom Paris flirting with Cass anymore, except that stupid season 3 episode before and after, but that's an alternate timeline. So yeah, the baby alien saves this episode for me, so my rating is a 5 out of 10. As per usual, Ricky, we're on the same page almost exactly. Yeah, I hate that episode before and after. That was so like soap opera and dumb, having Tom Paris marry Cass and have a baby together, and that baby gets together with Harry Kim, like that's, and they have a baby, like that's very, isn't that creepy or weird? I don't know. Well, I'll get to that episode when I get to it. The point is, they should not put fucking Cass and Tom Paris together. They never should have. But I think you're right. I think outside of that episode, they kind of drop it from here, which is great. So anyway, next comment is from Norman Buchwald, who says, I've heard on other channels praise for this episode, but other than perhaps establishing important Team Paris Neelix episodes like in Investigations and Live Fast and Prosper, I'm not much of a fan, mainly because it's a strong reminder of jealous Neelix, who I want quickly off my screen. And that puppet I found too annoying. Franks did what he could with what was given to him, but I'm giving this one 3 Paris is a better father with this baby than his own, i.e. Threshold, not Meryl, out of 10. Yeah, he just leaves his baby salamanders on the planet. He's a deadbeat dad. But anyway, Threshold. But no, I totally agree with you with the jealous Neelix. I want the hell off my screen. However, I disagree with you about the puppet. I thought it was cute. I like the little puppet. It's like watching the Muppets. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, it's weird that you heard other YouTube channels or other channels like this episode. Most of the people I know hate, can't stand this episode. The one exception is the Delta Flyers with Robert Duncan McNeil, Garrett Wong, and then Ethan Phillips was guessing, and they all seem to love this episode. Oh, this is such a good episode. And I'm like, seriously? Like, especially Robert Duncan McNeil hated episodes like Detrell and Civil Defense, but he likes this? All right. I mean, everyone's got their own taste, I guess, but as I say, like, some things are just objectively better, like even leaving out opinion, like Shawshank Redemption is objectively better than Paul Blurt Mall Cop, but Anyway, to each their own, I guess. Next comment is from Antarius, who says, since the German title of the episode translates to Planet Hell, I thought this was the episode when the crew is duplicated. So I was surprised to see this episode that I had only very vague memories of. And it's obvious why I forgot this one. The continuing jealousy plot is absolutely annoying, but maybe the planet is interesting. No, it's the same boring case set all over again. Besides that, I principally liked that the episode is focused on the different relationships, Paris/Neelix, Kim/Paris. Harry Kim again quotes some ancient Chinese saying. I thought the writers should have acknowledged by now that he has Korean heritage. The aliens felt rather random and are an early glimpse of what is about to come in later seasons. Aliens of the Week attacking Voyager. My rating is a 3 out of 10. Well, I addressed the forehead alien thing attacking Voyager, and as I said, I don't think it's as bad as Season 6, because it doesn't happen every episode. The ancient Chinese saying, like, Brown Brega didn't figure out that Kim was a Korean name until after Voyager was finished. So this whole time he went thinking that Ensign Kim was Chinese. So, yeah, kind of dumb. Now, the thing about the Planet Hell, I did remember hearing that this episode was called Planet Hell, or translated to that in German. And yeah, that's because parturition, I looked it up, it means something like parenthood or being a parent or whatever. So they changed the complete meaning of the title. And I actually got it confused as well when I rewatched this, I think, for the first time. And I didn't remember the episodes clearly because it had been like 4 or 5 years since I've seen them. And so I too, when they mentioned Planet Hell, they're like, oh, we're going to Planet Hell. I thought it was the demon episode too. With the silver blood and they duplicate the crew. But that's a demon planet, not Planet Hell. So I was getting them confused. But you see how they sound similar. So yeah, I fell for the same thing. But yeah. This episode's worse. But anyway, maybe not. They're kind of both the same, but we'll see. Anyway, next comment is from Benjamin Mead, who says, I'm caught up with Voyager episodes now, and what an absolute garbage dumpster of an episode to catch up with. The best part of the episode was the stock footage of the Jem'Hadar ships attacking the shuttle when Paris was training Kes. The whole episode stinks. I think this is the first of many shuttle crash episodes. The jealousy storyline is bad. The baby alien storyline is bad. Janeway has short hair for a single episode. I did get a pirated copy of the DVDs off eBay years ago, and this episode was messed up for a few minutes. on DVD, I'm glad it was this episode instead of any other one. Yes, the shuttle crash cliche and how many shuttles that Voyager has is an issue. And don't give me this, oh, they could create their own shuttles. No, Prodigy, you're not going to retcon that to make an excuse of why they had an infinite amount of shuttles. Anyway, the real reason is because the writers didn't give a shit about continuity. That's the real reason. But just like the journey that they go through is completely and wildly inconsistent. They encounter aliens that they should have left like thousands of light years behind. But anywho, as far as the bootleg DVDs, I actually also got them because when I was living in New Zealand and the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine DVDs were coming out, I had to buy them individually, and they used to be really expensive in New Zealand. They were much more expensive than they were in the US. They were like over $100, like $120 just for one season. And I was like, I can't afford that. So I went on eBay and I saw they were selling them like super cheap, and they even said like, oh, this is a legitimate copy, it's not bootleg. I was like, okay, so I bought them. And yeah, it's fucking bootleg. It was totally bootleg. But I was like, oh, whatever, And some TNG was worse than DS9 because some of the TNG discs, the last episode on disc would cut off like 5 minutes or sometimes 10 minutes before the episode ends, and so I'd miss the ending of these episodes for the longest time. But thankfully Deep Space Nine, there was only one episode that cuts off early, and that's one of my favorite episodes, though, Behind the Lines. So I went a while without seeing the ending of that, which sucks. Next Generation I did replace recently with Blu-rays, so I threw out the bootlegged DVDs, and I now have Blu-rays for TNG. But for DS9, I still have the Blu-rays. I mean the bootlegs. Sorry, still have it would be great if DS9 ever came out with Blu-rays, but it looks like it's not going to happen unless they find a much cheaper way to convert them into HD, because even the TNG lost money doing that, and DS9 is not nearly as popular as TNG, so they would never fork out the money to do it. But I'm hoping, like, I hear about this, some people do like use AI to do it, and some people are against that, but I'm for it. Like, if we can get higher quality DS9 and Voyager, I'd be all for that. But for the moment, I still have the bootlegs of DS9. Voyager, I actually did buy the legitimate DVDs because my parents got me the first 3 seasons for Christmas, I think a couple years in a row. And then I waited for Voyager to get seasons 4 through 7 when the price of DVDs went down, when they had been out for several years, so they were priced down at, New Zealand's version of Walmart, and I got it for like $35 or something. So eventually, I had the legitimate copies of Voyager, but still got the bootlegs for DS9. Anyway, next comment is from Stephen Kennedy, who says, I was going to accommodate you, but you see, I'm not really here. I should have done my Voyager strike after the 37th episode. I thought I was out, and a horror episode pulled me back in. P.S. I love an episode that I know most of you hate. Antarius, you're my only hope. It's not Threshold, is it? Let's see. Or maybe it's Tuvix. But anyway. P.S. But to be fair, most people like Tuvix. It's only me and my big fans who don't like it. So you would be normal if that's the episode. But you and I are going to have words if that's the case. So anyway. P.S. Part 2. Fred Noonan was in the Police Academy movies as Eugene Tackleberry. Yeah, now that you mention that, I do remember him now. But I vaguely recall the Police Academy movies because I hadn't seen those since I was a little kid. And I shall not ever see them since I was a little kid or more recently, because... I used to love those movies because I was 8 and 9 years old or 10 years old, and that's the perfect age for them. I am no longer that age, so I would no longer like those movies. But anyway, P.S. Part 3. I forgot Non Sequitur episode was in the middle of these garbage episodes. It is. And I'm on the page. Not everyone agrees with me, but Ricky does. That Non Sequitur is the only good episode out of the first 7. Next episode is when the season finally starts to get good. And that's the episode you were referencing just now. But anyway, thank you, patrons, so much for your comments. So my rating for I was almost going to call it Planet Hell. You got that in my head. Parturition, out of 10 is going to be a 5 average. Not quite there to a positive, but I still give this a bit higher because of there's a few things I like the scene with Paris and Kim playing the flute or clarinet, whatever the fuck. But and I like the puppet. I thought it was cute, and I think Paris and Neelix, working together was actually, they earned that. It was good. But that being said, I hate Jealous Neelix. I hate it. I wish they never did the storyline. And why did I have to make Janeway such a bad captain this episode? Like this contrived nonsense, like, oh, I'm going to force you two to go on a mission. Bullshit. And the whole thing was like, oh, fuck you, doctor. I'm not going to consult you at all, even though you're the fucking chief medical officer on my ship. Like, what the actual? But anyway, so still not what I call a good episode, but it was fine. Anyway, so that is it for my review of Parturition. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to help me out by leaving a like, a comment, subscribing. That sort of thing could help me out a lot if you want to. But if you really want to help me out, you could do so. It's just a possibility. Like, it's just. You could. By supporting me on Patreon. It is a link right below in their description. I have different rewards for different tiers, such as making comments that I read in my videos like I just did, or I have a series of patron-only videos exclusively for my Patreon supporters where I revisit reviews that I've already made, or, pre-releases, stuff like that you can check out if you are so inclined to do so. Okay, so let's see what's coming up next. Where am I? Okay, so this coming Monday will be my review for Indiscretion. Thursday will be my review for Rejoined, so doing 2 DS9s in a row. And then Saturday, be doing a patron requested video, the top 10 Star Trek villains, although I changed it to a top 15. It was requested as a top 10, but I couldn't narrow it down to 10. So I turned it into a top 15 Star Trek villains. So that's what's coming up on my channel. Be sure to check it out as I continue to cover Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek Deep Space Nine and many other videos and Star Trek stuff and other shows as well. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that, and thanks a lot for watching.